So continuation to solving linear systems. The first thing we did eliminations or solving by elimination. Now we're doing solving by substitution. Solving by substitution, basically you want to take one of the equations, solve it for one variable. So for example, one will solve it for y. The second example is a little bit harder. And then you sub it into the second equation. So that's what you're doing. Watch and see. So here, the first one, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this one right here, the top one, solve it for y. So what does that mean? It means I'm gonna make it y equals, I'm gonna leave the -6 on the right-hand side of the equal sign and move the 4x to the right side of the equal sign. Okay, so -6 minus 4x. Let's make it a little bit nearer. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna draw a vertical line right there. So for even space kind of. Okay, so now if we call this is equation 1 and we call the second equation equation 2, what you do, you sub 1 and 2. So what does that mean? You see how y equals -6 minus 4x? That means you go to equation 2, you rewrite it as -2x plus 3. But when you get to the y, you sub the y value from this equation here, which is -6 minus 4x. And you still have equals 24. So what I did, substitution, I'm subbing this here, -6 minus 4x in the y in the second equation. That's what we did. And everything else stays the same. Now, -2x plus, or I'm just gonna maybe make that minus 18 plus 12x equals 24. So just give me 1 second here. Just a little mistake there. So we subbed in that in here, and now 3 times -6 is going to give me -18, and 3 times -4 gives me -12, not positive 12. All right. So the thing is, now you add like terms. So -2x minus 12x is -14x minus 18 equals 24. Move the 18 to the other side, so you get -14x equals, when you move the -18 to the other side, it becomes positive, so that gives you positive 42. Now divide both sides by -14 by -14, and you get x to equal -3. All right, now once we find out that x is -3, now I'm gonna go there and solve for y. You see this equation, it's already solved for y, isn't it? So instead of subbing that -3 in any of these equations here, it's much easier and faster to just sub the x value right here. So you have y equals -6 minus 4 times -3, -6 plus 12, which gives me +6. And therefore, a solution is the x value, which is -3, and the y value, which is 6. And that's the solution. That's basically where the two lines meet at -3 and 6. Again, you could always go back and test. So if you put -3 for the x and 6 for the y, so that gives me -12 plus 6, that gives me -6, works. And if you put -3 there, you're going to get 6. And that's going to give me 3 times 6 is 18. 6 plus 18 is 24. So check, this works. Of course, you could take your time and do this. I am able to do this a little bit faster than most students, or most students. The second one is not as simple as this. And the reason is, there's no, you see here how we had this variable right here. It was y, and I could have just solved it for y. But here, all of them, they have numbers in front of them, coefficients. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, maybe I'm gonna call this one, all right? And I'm gonna take this equation right here, and I'm gonna solve it for x, because it doesn't have to be solved for y. You could solve it for x. You know what I'm saying? So here, it's easier to solve for y because the y doesn't have a coefficient there, but here we have the choice, so I'm going to solve this for x. So then I have 4x minus 3y, or you know what, I'm going to move the negative 3y to the other side, becomes plus 3y minus 5. So I just move the negative 3y to that side. Now divide both sides by 4, by 4, by 4, and I get x equals 3/4 y minus 5 over 4. And I'm going to call this 2, all right? Now I'm going to substitute 2 in 1. So I'm going to take this here and sub it in the x in 1. That's what it means. So there you go. We have 3 instead of x. We're going to sub in this for the x. So I have 3 over 4y minus 5 over 4. Close the bracket. We still have the minus 4y there, equals negative 2. Now, when you multiply a number times a fraction, if you cannot reduce with the bottom, just multiply just to the top. So the whole number multiplies only to the top. So we're going to get 9 over 4y minus 15 over 4 minus 4y equals negative 2. I like to get rid of fractions right away by multiplying all of this by 4. So 4 times 9 over 4, the 4's will cancel and we'll end up with 9y minus 4 times 15 over 4, the 4's will cancel and we just get negative 15, and then this will give me negative 16y equals negative 8. Now we have 9y minus 16y is negative 7y, and move the negative 15 to the other side, it becomes plus 15. So basically adding 15 to both sides if you wish to see it that way. And that gives me 7. So y equals negative 1 when you divide both sides by negative 7. And you got y equals negative 1. Now we need to solve for x. So I'm going to go to here and solve that for x. So x equals 3 over 4. We find the y to be negative 1 minus 5/4. So that gives me negative 3 over 4 minus 5 over 4, which equals x equals negative 8 over 4, which gives me negative 2. And therefore solution is negative 2 and negative 1. We could go back and test if we put negative 2 and negative 1 there. So negative 2, that makes it negative 6, plus 4, which gives me negative 2, true. So and if we put negative 2 there, we get negative 8, plus 3, which gives me negative 5. So check, that's the right answer. Okay. So there you go. We're finding the number of solutions of a linear system. So you have 3 conditions here. You know, when you solve these equations, if you end up with 0 equals 0 at the end, you have infinitely many solutions or infinite solutions. If you end up with 0 equaling a number, it doesn't matter what the number is, then there's no solution. And if you end up with x or a y equaling a number, then you know you have one solution. As I said, infinite solutions, that means the lines that are the same, they're right on top of one another, so they're touching all the time. That's why you have infinite solutions. So that means their slope and their y-intercept have to be the same. No solution, they have the same slope but different y-intercepts, so they kind of parallel, they never meet, and that's no solution. And if their slope is different, only if the slope is different, you know the lines will meet somewhere. All right, so this is the 3 conditions here on what it means. So for the first one, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna solve by elimination. Okay, so this is gonna just be rewritten as 5x minus 3y equals 12. But this one here, I'm gonna multiply it by 3, and then I get 6x plus 3y equals 18. Sorry, that doesn't equal 18, but it equals 3 times 18 is 54. Yeah, now I'm going to use the method of elimination. So since this is negative 3y and this is positive 3y, they have the opposite signs. I'm going to add the two equations. So I'm going to get 11x equals 36. Sorry, 11x equals 66. That's what I meant, 66. And therefore, x equals 6 when you divide both sides by 11. So here, if I said if x equals a number or y, it doesn't matter, then you have one solution. And therefore, here we have one solution. Yeah. How about here? Here also, I'm going to use the method of elimination. Always use the method of elimination if you want to use these three conditions right here. So to eliminate, I'm going to multiply. I'm going to eliminate the y. So I'm going to multiply this top by 2. So I'm going to get 10x minus 6y equals 24. And I'm going to keep the bottom one the same. So here I multiplied it by 2, sorry. And here I'm going to keep everything the same. So I have 10x minus 6y equals 24. I'm going to subtract the two equations. You notice I'm going to get 0 here, 0 there, because when you subtract them, you get 0, and 24 minus 24, you get 0. I said if you have 0 equals 0, when you eliminate, then you have infinite solutions. So it's infinite number of solutions. All right. Now, how about here? We're going to eliminate again. So I'm going to multiply this by, maybe just multiply this one here by 2 and keep this the same. So that gives me 10x minus 6y equals 24. And this will be 10x minus 6y equals 3. I'm going to subtract the two equations. 10x minus 10x gives me 0. Negative 6y minus negative 6y gives me 0. 24 minus 3 gives me 21. Remember I said if you get 0 equaling a number, it means no solution. So this is the condition right here. So therefore, no solution. And that's it for this chapter. There are also the word problems. We'll visit them one day. But this is basically how you do elimination and substitution and how you find how many solutions you have when you have two linear systems. And that's it. So again, thank you for watching. Till next time, bye-bye. Stay tuned for my next video. Share with others so they could benefit. Thanks again. Bye-bye.